Emily Walker stood outside the towering glass building of Orion Tech, her resume pressed tightly between her fingers. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The lobby was sleek, filled with professionals in expensive suits, whispering into Bluetooth earpieces or tapping away on tablets. Emily felt out of place in her modest blouse and scuffed shoes. She had earned a degree in systems engineering from a small public university and had graduated at the top of her class. But she knew this world didn't care much for credentials without connections. Her father, David Walker, worked as a janitor in this building for over 15 years. He never complained, never asked for more. He told Emily that hard work would always win, but she wasn't so sure anymore. Every job interview she'd been to had ended the same way. Polite smiles, shallow questions, and cold rejections. Still, she had hope. Orion Tech was her dream company, known for its cutting-edge AI projects. Maybe they would see past her clothes and her last name. When they finally called her in, she was led into a conference room with glass walls and minimal decor. 3 people sat at the table, 2 men and 1 woman, all dressed in tailored suits. The woman, who seemed to lead the panel, barely glanced at Emily before speaking. Emily Walker graduated from Westfield State University. Yes, Emily said, sitting straighter. I majored in systems engineering. I also built an open-source load balancing tool that... Westfield isn't a feeder school, one of the men interrupted. You don't have internship experience either? I had to work 2 jobs to help pay rent, but I did complete several personal projects, including a traffic routing model that... The woman raised her hand slightly. We're looking for candidates who've worked in real-world environments, people who understand the pressure of keeping systems online under heavy loads. Emily looked down at her hands, then up again. I understand the pressure of having to get everything right the first time. I worked on live simulations at school. At that moment, the door opened, and a tall man in his 50s walked in. His presence shifted the room's energy instantly. The CEO, Daniel Bradford. He gave Emily a quick, dismissive look and whispered to the HR manager, "We're wasting time. Move on to the next." Emily stood, clutching her resume. She turned to leave, cheeks burning, but just as she reached the door, she heard Bradford mutter to the others, "If we can't fix that damn load balancing issue by Friday, we'll lose the Denver contract." She stopped in her tracks. Her heart pounded. Then she turned slowly and said, "I think I know how to fix it." All eyes snapped to her. The panel blinked in confusion. Bradford raised an eyebrow. "You," he said, half amused. "Yes," she replied firmly. "Just give me 10 minutes, I can show you." The room fell silent as Emily walked back toward the table, her hands trembling slightly, but her eyes filled with determination. Daniel Bradford crossed his arms, clearly skeptical, but something in her tone had piqued his interest. "All right," he said, 10 minutes, impress me." Emily opened her worn messenger bag and pulled out a small tablet. With a few quick swipes, she brought up the model she'd been working on for months in her spare time, a dynamic load balancing system using predictive AI algorithms. She had created it after studying traffic congestion issues in public infrastructure, but the same logic applied to Orion Tech's server architecture. "I built a simulation that adjusts server load based on predictive user demand," she explained. "Your current system is reactive. Mine is proactive. That's why you're experiencing instability under peak usage." She quickly plugged the tablet into the HDMI cord connected to the screen. Code scrolled across, followed by a sleek dashboard she had designed herself. The executives leaned in, their expressions changing from disinterest to intrigue. "I don't just shift load based on current data," Emily continued. "I use pattern recognition to anticipate spikes, whether that's in Denver or anywhere else, and auto-deploy resources before a bottleneck forms." Bradford squinted at the screen. "And you did this on your own?" "Yes," Emily replied. "I started with open-source libraries, but I built the predictive algorithm myself. I've tested it against existing systems. It outperformed most commercial models. The lead HR manager, who had earlier dismissed her, leaned toward her laptop, typing rapidly. "She's right," she said. "This design, if it works in real time, could solve the scaling issue we've been stuck on." Bradford's gaze sharpened. "What's your name again?" "Emily Walker." He paused. "Walker? Any relation to David Walker?" Emily hesitated. "He's my father. He works as a janitor here." Bradford blinked. Something softened in his face. "David is one of the most dependable people in this building. Always on time. Always humble." There was a beat of silence before Bradford extended his hand. "Welcome to Orion Tech, Miss Walker." Emily's breath caught. She took his hand, stunned. The HR team murmured in agreement. They had come into the room expecting to check off another applicant. Instead, they'd found the very solution they were searching for. That evening, Emily walked back into the building's lobby, not as a visitor, but as a newly hired systems engineer. Her father stood by the elevator with his mop, and she rushed to hug him, tears in her eyes. "You did it, Em?" he asked. She nodded. "We did it, Dad." From that day forward, the story of how the janitor's daughter saved the Denver contract spread throughout the company. Emily didn't just earn her job, she earned respect. Not because of where she came from, but because of what she could do.